Yo, what's going on, guys? So in today's video, we've got another client testimonial. This is Joel, who I worked with back in 2023. And since then, he's gone on to become a dating coach himself. So unbelievable transformation. And I will let the man introduce himself to you so you can find out more about his story and our time working together.
I was a virgin until 27. One of my biggest fears was that I would never be able to flirt, that I would be single forever. In that hour period, I went from feeling like I was a beginner, like this was going to take forever, I might never figure out, to just boom, boom, boom. So I got these 5 numbers and they all responded. Some hot Polish girls that I would have probably been afraid to approach before. They all responded, bro, within the hour.
The fact that you consulted an additional guy after we started working together, because essentially you're having too many one-night stands. This is the average guy's dream.
I came to Mexico, man, off the plane, got 6 numbers. Yeah, man, you've created a happy man over here. What you taught me was so valuable is because you taught me how to never run out of things to say. To know I can go to sleep at night knowing I have peace around my dating life. And this is not something I have to worry about for the rest of my life. To have somebody that can help you, they only need to be one level above where you are. Seems like 15.
So Tim here, and today we've got a client testimonial from my man Joel. So thank you so much, my man. And yeah, before we dive into it, do you just want to tell the guys a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. I appreciate the introduction. So my name is Joel. I'm based out of Mexico City here, and I'm a professional dating coach. We teach cold approach, online dating, and have developed my own business here. But before that, I was actually coached myself by Mr. Tim here. So we're going to be diving into that today and how we got started and how we're here now.
Love that. All right, Joel. So as you know, look, you do this stuff full time, and a great channel, by the way, Makes Pat Dating. But as you know, guys have a lot of kind of fears coming into learning this stuff. I know I certainly did. So if you want to share a little bit about, before we worked together, what your fears were in the whole cold approach, talking to women, or even beyond.
Yeah, man, my biggest fears, I think the first one was that I would be single forever. I had this huge fear that I would never meet a girl. I would be doing cold approach for my whole life and giving it 110%, but I just wouldn't get any results. I would end up single, alone. So that was kind of my real driving force, to be fair. One of my biggest fears was messing up. So because of that, I actually would push away opportunities because I'd be like, oh, I'm eventually going to screw this up anyway, and that's going to be embarrassing. So I might as well try to act cool and stoic and proud. So one of my biggest fears was that I would never be able to flirt. I would always be the boring guy. I would have to find a really nice girl that went to church and was a book girl, but I never could figure out flirting. So that's where you came in big time. Some of my biggest challenges were going from boring, dry, nice guy conversation to where there was a spark, where there was sexuality, where she had that look in her eye. And then in turn, her actually wanting to set a date with me. Because I would get a lot of numbers because I think I was polite enough and I wasn't weird enough and I wasn't saying weird things. But I could just feel that she always left being okay, I ain't really going to remember this. So that was a really big challenge, is how to make her feel something besides boredom or besides her being okay, well, I got to go. Nice meeting you, right? Because you always, as a guy, want to be the one to cut off the conversation, typically, if you can. So I think what the biggest first piece was learning assumptions, which really took away that interview style conversation, which is where a lot of guys struggle, right? Where are you from? Oh, what do you like to do? Oh, why do you live here? Just yes, no questions. Those are so easy, so basic. It's really not you. It's taking a lot too, because you're just trying to extract information from her. So what you taught me was how to do assumptions, how to infer things, how to inference things about people. And this has obviously played a huge role in even my career in sales, our own business. We'll give an example there. Really though, learning how to look into somebody instead of trying to have them explain it to you.
I remember me and you went round to your house before we'd ever done any work together, and we recorded a podcast, and I was like, bro, this guy's got his shit together. So I was kind of shocked. It's almost like a guy can have his stuff together. He can have his money together. He can have his he can have his shit together in every area of his life. But until you kind of learn this stuff, you know, as you said to me, actually, you can't skip steps. The results you had before we started working together versus the results you had after we started working together. The fact that you consulted an additional guy after we started working together, because essentially you're having too many one-night stands, right? This is the average guy's dream. Okay, the average guy's dream is like, Jesus Christ, how do I stop sleeping with these women, right? Like that is the problem that men want to have. So what kind of results were you getting before we started working together?
Yeah, so that's why I was so frustrated, is because I had done, for you logical number guys, I had done, coming into Poland, I had done over 500 approaches, between like 5 and 550. And then I lived like a few weeks in Poland before I met Tim. So I'd done probably another like 60, 70.
If you don't mind sharing the virgin piece as well, because there's a lot of guys that are listening to this are going to be like, it's typical male thing, right? We don't feel like we've been sexually successful enough. So anything that you want to share on that, that's going to help the guys know in.
Yeah, for sure, guys. So I'm 31 now, and I met Tim back in summer of 2023, and I was a virgin until 27. So it's been 4 years. 4 years. And so when I met Tim, yeah, I was fresh off my first lay and stepping into that phase of my life for sure. I grew up Catholic, by the way, too. So that was a huge contributor into being afraid of sex and all that stuff. So
wow. So a lot of guys watching this, they might have some of that kind of conditioning in the background as well. So from losing your V plates to a professional dating coach.
Yes, sir. It's crazy, man. Crazy the way life takes you sometimes. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's crazy. Like one of the other guys I'm working with, he's in his 50s, but he's in his 50s and had never done an approach on the street until he was past the age of 50. Has like a kidney condition, and it's like, wow. And he's slept with like 3 girls in the last month. And you're like, bro, what's your excuse? You know what I mean? Like, virgin till 27. Come on, man. Like, we see it, right? You know, when you put your mind to something. And the thing is, guys, for you guys watching this, your challenges may not be the same as Joel, as in you might be older than Joel, but the same things that apply. If you haven't had the sexual abundance that you want yet, it's about applying yourself, as we'll get to in the rest of this podcast. Just for the guys watching, before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, what were the results after working together?
Man, I remember the day. Because we had gone out, like, I think it was like on a Friday, and we were talking about assumptions, and I implemented it over the weekend. So that's something that I value myself, is that if I get feedback, I take it and I try it right away, which is, you know, I want to be a good student, especially because Tim was supporting me in this. I didn't want to waste his time either. That Sunday, I went out for a sesh, and I got 5 numbers from like hot Polish girls that I would have probably been afraid to approach before, because I was worried, you know, like getting rejected by a 7 that thinks you're boring stings a lot less than a 9 that thinks you're bored. But I just started, like, one after another. I got the number, and she was like enthused. I'm like, and just like, in that day, in that like hour period, I went from like feeling like I was a beginner, like this was going to take forever, I might never figure out, to just boom, 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 boom. So I got these 5 numbers, and they all responded. Bro, within the hour. And I just couldn't believe it. I was standing outside, or I was standing inside the mall, outside the Starbucks. I literally remember like where I was visually. And I just remember looking at my phone, just text. And they weren't like, hey. They were like, there was energy behind it. There was an exclamation mark in one. There was hey with like 8 Ys. And I'm like, I've never gotten texts like this before. Right? So I was like, holy shit, bro. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Damn. Yep. And, well, I can vouch that day that we went out, and I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I went out and I said, right, Joel, smoke shows only today. I think it's worth saying a lot of guys do coaching boot camps, and they'll have that kind of rush while they're there, and they maybe get some results, but then they're not able to sustain it afterwards. So in terms of you sustaining that momentum and what you've gone on to do since, is there anything that comes to mind there in terms of your results that you want to share?
Absolutely, man. So I had to end up going home from Poland. I grew up in a town of 10,000 people in a small town in Wisconsin, right? Farm country, very liberal, blah, blah, blah. And I approached this girl at the gym when I got back because I was still in like hunter mode. And I got her number or whatever. She just got on high school. So she was 18. And then I get home, I kid you not, because I approached her at the end of my workout and I went home and my mom comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, I heard you met Susie at the gym." I was like, "What?" She had already told her mom, and her mom had called my mom to tell my mom that I had approached her daughter. So I want to throw that out there because finding a place where abundance is going to be is really important. So my plan was to go back to Poland. I ended up going to Mexico, actually, which is obviously where I am now. And I want to preface something, guys. Tim, I think you made a really good point, is that you're going to have that, you have these breakthroughs, but that isn't a guarantee it's going to be smooth sailing. I think this trips guys up a lot. They get some good results and they're like, it's going to be like this forever. No, I still had a lot of things to work on. I had a lot of inner game to work on. I had pieces now where I was getting numbers and dates pretty regularly, but now how do I maintain a long-term relationship, right? You get into these next phases, right? The most important piece, guys, though, is that I think about every day. I came in with that beginner's mindset. I am going to treat this as if this is brand new, and I'm humble myself, let myself get hurt, let myself get rejected. In terms of results, so yeah, dude, I came to Mexico, man, and I just off the plane got like 6 numbers because I was just, assumptions were my new default. Like questions were a thing of the past, right? It was all about creating that vibe, creating that, making them laugh, creating that flirtation, having her be like, "How did he know that about me?" Right? All those little things. So she felt seen. I became a lot less selfish with my dating. It was more about how can I give an experience to this woman. And then obviously today, 2 years later, I have a dating coaching business in Mexico City. We've coached dozens of guys on cold approach. I've helped guys get girlfriends, helped them have fun, have helped them just look more inwards because some guys aren't ready to have the abundance they want because they have some inner work they need to do. That might be you, and there's absolutely zero judgment there, but that's where we're here to help all phases of the process. And then what I'm probably most excited to share about and proud of is that I have a girlfriend now. And we've been dating 9 months. I met her in a cold approach. I have the video actually, because it was the first day we started doing infield, which is just so funny. So my business partner was standing behind a bush with the camera and we got the whole thing on film. I told her I was a dating coach on our third date. She was like, "Yeah, it's totally cool." So she's been in my videos. She's super feminine, sweet, supportive, all the things we want, right, out of a woman, and why we even hire dating coaches to begin with. Right? That's why I got to work with Tim for where I'm living now. And there's one more really important piece. And I feel like I haven't lost the spark. I just feel like what I learned and what Tim taught me, I'm still implementing today, right? I need to catch myself sometimes and be like, "Okay, Joel, it's time to do some assumptions, even with my own girlfriend, right? It's time to keep things fresh and, keep the flirtation going." I think we see this a lot. A lot of guys that get in a relationship and then they revert back to their old self, right? They get lazy. What Tim taught me is we got to be on the grind every single day, right? Every day is a new day, and every day is a day we need to put our 100% best foot forward. So, yeah, man, you've created a happy man over here in Mexico City.
I love to see what you've done, man. You've taken it in a totally wholesome direction. Sometimes men worry about learning this stuff because they don't want to be one of the guys that learn this stuff. It's like, bro, like, Joel, you've got like a completely wholesome relationship with a beautiful girl. She's definitely my type as well. But don't worry, of course, bro, for hoes, always. But yeah, you have a beautiful, wholesome relationship, and this is what it's all about. And we'll go into a little bit of what happened after we did the coaching together. I definitely want to touch on that as well, because I think there's some juicy details that the guys would love to hear just prior to getting your girlfriend, right? Because believe it or not, that you can be too successful with this stuff, and I think that maybe is kind of a little bit with what happened with yourself, right? It's brilliant to see what you've accomplished there. You've got a beautiful relationship, and you've led the way for me as well. I think for a lot of guys that learn this stuff, it's one thing to learn this set of skills, and it's an incredible you know, it's like, it's an incredible set of skills. And we'll get into what me and you did together, the work around that one particular piece of your approaching that made the biggest difference. And we'll get there in a second. We'll unpack that for the guys. But when you have this skill, a lot of men can build an identity around it. And I think, you know, they become that, they have this idea of themselves as being the player, or the guy that constantly has to have a 1, 2, 3 girls on the go, whatever it is. And even their friends kind of support this narrative as well, because they're all doing the same thing. And I think it really takes a man to step out and go, hang on a second, no, what do I want for myself? Is this going to be continue to be the lifestyle I want, or do I want to have this phase? I like to call it an ethical player phase, where you go out, you get your abundance with women, you find out, as you would say, Joel, you find out who you want to date and who's right for you and who's not right for you. And that's not just important for the men, it's important for the women as well. As we all know someone that's in a bad relationship, right? And you don't want to bring resentment to the relationship because you haven't had that experience. So it's definitely important for both genders that you go out there, you have your ethical player phase, you have your fun, but then knowing when to step away from that. And that's, of course, a call that every man should make. But I definitely think that's one of the biggest things that I've taken from you personally, that I've learned from you, is, you know, I love how you're a dating coach, you teach this skill to guys. But on top of that, what you model as well is having a relationship. And yeah, if you don't mind sharing, I would love to hear about, I would say my opinion of what you told me, and then you can tell me if I got it right. But essentially, we did the work together, and then you went to Mexico, and as far as I'm aware, you were doing some serious, in an entirely wholesome way, you're doing some damage in Mexico. And then after that, you kind of were like, hang on a sec, look, I want to transition out of this, but like, how? So you essentially, you were too sexually successful for your own good, and you actually kind of wanted to transition to a relationship, but then you actually ended up consulting some additional help to make that a reality. I mean, do you want to share a bit about that?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's funny, like the problems we get, right? They always give me a problem. And yeah, it was fantastic. I appreciate what you said, Sam, that, you know, you've gained value from what I've gone through as well. And I was, living my ethical player phase. I was going on dates, 3-4 times a week. I had a pretty good sequence down to be, put it bluntly, where, I was, let's see this. I was, I want to say this right for you too, because I was meeting new types of women. I was, like you said, finding the kind of types of girls I liked. And I was also finding the girls I wasn't compatible with and I didn't like. But yeah, I got to that phase where, man, I was like, I couldn't not go on a first date and get laid. Like, I just couldn't do it. I just, like, all I knew how to do was take her on a date, walk her on my route, end up back at my place, and then we would hook up. And what I was finding is that I would not never, but rarely would I get a second date. And like the girls that I actually wanted, if I slept with them too soon, it was kind of it was like game over, right? Because they had, in their eyes, our first intimate experience, and when I say intimate, I just mean physical, was a sexual experience. So basically I was just getting viewed as like the F boy, right? We call it like, being the F boy, right? I was the Asian F boy in Mexico City. And so I actually hired a dating coach. I paid him $5,000, and I wouldn't say that money was, I did need that money for other things, but there was like a calling to me, like, I need to figure this out. So I hired him. His name's Danny Vera, also great guy. I don't think he's coaching anymore. He has some health issues, and we still stay in touch once in a while. Really good guy. Like, he really helped me start to realize that I had enough. Like, I had enough fun that it's okay to transition out of this phase and start looking for relationships and developing those relationship skills. To really, like, his accountability just like helped me not go for the clothes on the first date. Wow. To put it bluntly, like, I was like, I paid this guy $5,000, and I remember going into these dates and I'm like, I'm not going to pull. I'm not going to pull. And I was like nervous because I was like, dude, what if I just fucking pull? Like, nope.
Yeah. No, I just think that's, for the guys watching this, I think it's just That is a problem they would love to have. Basically, you got too good at this skill, and you had to literally pay someone to coach you not to sleep with them on the first dates. But if you take where the start of our journey was, when it's like, Jesus, can I get a text back here? And then we're quite yeah, I mean, that's incredible, guys. And I think, there are many people's journeys where I look at it and it blows your mind. I don't know if you've had this, by the way, but like another guy I've been coaching recently, and I'll admit, when I first coached him, I didn't think he could ever get to the level he's at now. Like, guilty. He taught me, just like you taught me things, right? He taught me something. And a lot of and one of the lessons that I've taken from coaching guys is that your start point is not your end point. You think the start point is an indicator of your end point. Is not most of the time, because so many guys that they got the chat to begin, but they haven't got the balls to keep going with the journey. Or like yourself, for example, you've invested in coaching, $5,000 here, $5,000 there. You've invested in your journey segmentally at different stages, and you'd be willing to kind of put your energy, your time, your money in to keep going with the journey. So I think the point I'm trying to make there is amazing what can be done.
I couldn't agree more, Tim. I mean, I'm working with clients now that they'll get in that rut and they'll just kind of quit. And you're just like, and there's nothing I can, and it gets to a point where I can't coach them to have the motivation to keep going, right? I can coach them on the skills, techniques, all that, but unless they have that hunger and are willing to face, their own selves, because that's really what it is like when I was getting out of this ethical player phase, I'd be like, what am I getting from sleeping with girls so quickly? Why can I not just like be patient and wait 2 dates to be intimate and then in turn be able to potentially have a long-term relationship? Because I found a very, very succinct pattern where if I didn't sleep with him right away, we would typically go into some sort of like a longer term relationship. And it was kind of just like, it was almost like A versus B.
Do you want to talk about like how it was actually just being coached by me? If you were coached by Sergeant Slaughter out of the US Army, it would be different to working with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah. When you work with Sergeant Sir Fucks a lot, man, it's going to be a different game, man. So what I really liked about working with you, Tim, is that you met me as an equal. There wasn't this hierarchical feeling I felt. And that's something I really bring into my own coaching is like, I'm just like, I am you, man. Like I am you, but just a few years ahead. And I felt that with you, like you weren't like taking this egoic, like I'm better than you, listen to everything I say, I'm the master vibe. You met me where I was at. And that I felt very like not judged for the struggles that I was struggling with. I felt zero judgment. Like it wasn't like, oh man, did I remember when I was there, man? Some guys, if you ever worked with a dating coach with a big ego, there's some guys that will like try to put you down at the same time as trying to help you, which is like super fucked up and isn't motivation at all. Sure, when you work with someone for an extended period of time, like I get frustrated with the guys sometimes, and I imagine you do too, right? That's just part of the game, and it's part of coaching. Bill Belichick got frustrated with Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a world-class quarterback. It's nothing personal. That's how I really felt, was that you were, and the way you framed it to me too, you were like, hey man, I was overhearing your approach there, and I heard something that, would you mind if I gave you some feedback on? And you've been asking, like, it's okay if you offer me advice. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And then you say, well, here's something that, I heard you say this way. So it was very practical too. It wasn't like kind of woo-woo. It wasn't like, oh, dude, the way like your shoulder was like 4 inches. Like it wasn't like weird, like stuff that didn't matter. It was like, here's a practical piece of advice that I want you to try out. You're welcome to or welcome not to. But let me know what happens if you try it. That was kind of the energy. So you gave me permission to
wow.
Face it. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, man. We're all on this journey. It takes so much courage to try and do this stuff, right? I think always it's funny, isn't it? Because you always want someone to do something out of their own volition. You never want them to feel like forced, always asking permission. Like, even though they paid you to coach them, if you're always choosing, then you feel like you're the one in the driving seat, but you're being supported as opposed to being told what to do. Which personally for me, that's how I'd like to be coached. So I try and coach how I'd like to be coached.
Love that, man. Yeah. And I forget that sometimes too. So that's a good reminder. Because everyone needs a different style of coaching too. Some people do need that harder push. Like, bro, like, it's time to stop being a pussy. Like, come on. And I've worked with guys too, and other guys need a more gentle approach. I think a combo is good too. But then also, something you really did well was you gave me support when I did well. You were like, dude, that's like, you congratulated me, man. It wasn't like, like, it's like the crab in the bucket analogy. Like, you see someone climbing out and then you try to pull them back, right? So that's something I always try to do with my clients too, is like, just make sure they feel like, dude, I freaking did it. And like, it's awesome. Right?
Yeah. Celebrate the win with them.
Celebrate the win with them.
Fantastic. So when we worked together, what did you get that you weren't expecting?
When we worked together, I got how to flirt, and I was not expecting that. Like, I thought it was kind of like this unique skill that only certain people had, and I just didn't have it. I was just too boring of a person, or too logical, whatever it might be. But after working with you, I figured it out. I still had to refine it, obviously, as the years have gone on. There's different levels to it, but I got past that initial interview style to like, this guy's like interesting and like fun to talk to. And like, I'd like to date him. So, man, because I remember like before meeting you, I was like I was doing a lot of approaching to bowling. I'd go on Insta dates and just wouldn't get a second.
I remember your first approaches, and you had the right energy. Like, your energy was like this, right? You're like the guy that shows up at the boxing gym, right? And just, he's got his heart's in the right place, and he's trying, he turns up with the right attitude, but he keeps getting punched in the face. He keeps turning up to spar again, and he's putting that smile back on his face, and it's admirable in the kindest way, because I'm sure you're exactly the same when you work with guys. It's, you can tell most of the time when you work with guys, you can tell in less than, like, sometimes less than 10 seconds, you can tell, right, they need to work on this. Because for us, we teach a system. It's pragmatic, right? We love to talk about the inner game stuff, and that's great. But I'm a massive believer that you focus on what's in front of you right now, and the inner game stuff is going to sort itself out along the road. And for yourself, if you don't mind me sharing, I remember like listening to you do those approaches, and you were great in the way that you had that energy. You had the beginner, you had the mindset that you can't teach, brought your A game. Because no one can, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like, we're not here to save people. We're here to give people the right tools for the job. And that can come down to organization, how to plan their schedule so they actually meet and approach women, how to be accountable. We can teach you those skills, but you got to show up. Anyway, all that to say, like, you had that piece down, which was great. So that made you a joy to work with. But initially she would get like good responses from girls, but I could just tell there was a point when the conversation would go so far, and then it would, no, but there was definitely a piece that we worked on together. And if you just want to like say that I knew that was going to be the piece for you, that particular piece. And when we taught you that piece, I was like, God damn. So all of a sudden you can move around the ring. All of a sudden you slip in the shot, get him a number, and the girl's texting you back, and you're putting in all this effort. It's a bit like the analogy I like to use. I love using these army analogies at the moment. It's a bit like, you got the Roman army, right? And the Roman army, they were in the UK, and they had 10,000 soldiers versus Boudica, right? And I think she's a Scottish warrior queen. 150,000, for the legend said, right? 150,000 versus 10,000. 150,000 got slaughtered because they didn't have a strategy. Yes. You were doing a lot of things right. You were in good shape. You had the attitude down. You had the accountability, all of that stuff. But when it came to that conversational framework, it was that missing piece. And that's like the shield wall, you know what I mean? And then when we started that missing piece, it was just like, damn, as you said, 5 numbers, all of a sudden you're in Mexico, you're having to hire a coach to stop you getting laid. Jesus Christ. Excuse my language, right? Bleep that one out. But anyway, if you want to talk about a little bit about what that, and before you do, I think it's very, very important to say that every guy will have missing pieces that are unique to them. And it's not just, to use another boxing analogy, it's like when we talk about your missing piece in particular, say you've got boxers like the heavyweight division, America, you've got Deontay Wilder, right? He's got a right hand, right? So let's say we taught you the right hand, but here's the thing, he has a setup to the right hand. And that right hand, he knows how to throw it in his body. So when we explain the principle, I think it was very, very important. And I know you do this too in your coaching, Joel, because you are one of the guys that I can talk to about my stuff. And I feel like safe to tell you what's up. You know what I mean? I don't want to toot my own horn here, but in terms of being a good coach, and I think I am a good coach, and I can definitely say the same for you, it's like, you know, the way to coach the guy to give him that setup, and then you know how to tailor the setup for him. So the principle that we're going to explain in a second, what you got to understand is the principle is tailored for you, where you were at in that point in time, right? 27 years old, lost your virginity 5 months before we started working together, whatever it was, from another country, from America, in Poland. If you're a different guy, if you're a 51-year-old or a 52-year-old guy, the principle might be the same, but the setup, given who the guy is, the language that he would use would be different, if you know what I'm saying.
100%, Jim. Yeah, like each guy has, like you just said, a different sticking point. And it's our job to identify that and to be able to help them on it. That's why, you know, I've worked with dating coaches before too that are so structured and logical that you have to follow A, B, C, and in that order. You can't skip steps. You can't, right? And it's like, I could just tell they're not like listening to the client on what the client really needs. It's more about what they think is the right thing to do. So yeah, man, you put it perfectly. I was missing how to have conversation. I was like, I could walk into the ring really good. I had a great like music. I looked the part, right? I did my cut. And then as soon as we got to the wrestling, like I could throw, you know, stand in the ring, throw some jabs. But as soon as we got to the mat and they would get me to the ground, I was just like a wet noodle and they would put me in the arm bar in 2 seconds. I was out of moves once I got like past a certain, literally time in the conversation and like a certain talking point. Why what you taught me was so valuable is because you taught me how to never run out of things to say. It's one of the videos on my channel, how to never run out of things to say with a woman, because you taught me to be observant, to start being observant, to get out of my own head and look, like you even said it, at what's in front of me, right? It's a pretty girl. She's unique in her own way. She's wearing X, Y, or Z, which other X girl isn't wearing. She has her own story. So how can I start to like pick out little things that I'm noticing and make an assumption on that about who she is as a person? And as soon as we learned that, man, I was like, holy shit. Like, because you can only ask like, where are you from? And what do you like to do after work? As many times, which is once. And then, no, oh, I like to go to, you know, I like to go to the gym. Cool. What gym? The whatever fit, City Fit. Oh shit. Okay. What's your favorite lift? And then she's, by this point, she's just like, oh my God, dude, like, right?
Yeah, so that assumption piece, yeah, exactly. Taking an interest in what's in front of you. What can I say, man? You ran away with it. And I remember the girls, like I said, you were doing a lot of things right before, but it's, you were doing a lot of things right before, but that was like the one unlock piece. And that was what I want to say as well, is a lot of guys are looking for the right coach, but the question we need to ask is, how can I be the best student? Guys love to focus on what they're really good at, and they hate focusing on what they're not good at. The thing is, right, if you want to get good with girls, if you want to become a guy that has to hire a coach to help him stop sleeping with women on the first date, right, then you need to get good at opening the conversation. You need to get good at bantering with the girl, teasing with the girl. You need to get good at connection, and then you need to get good at asking her out at the end. That's the approach. And then you've got the texting side of things, or everything that happens until the date. You need to get good at that bit. And then you've got the dating itself. And the funny thing is, one thing I've noticed from coaching guys is that one, they'll want to focus on the bit they're really good on, right? Or two, they don't want you to look at the bits they think they're really good on. Oh no, my text is good. No, okay, well let's
let's have a look. Let's really have a look. Wow, 4 emojis, brother. 4 emojis.
Yeah, that's a good texting principle. I try and teach guys is to mirror, like slightly less, mirror her emoji use or dim it down a little bit. It's a good principle. You know what I mean? So cheap as good with smiley faces, you can put some smiley faces. Because until you see someone write, you don't know what their writing style is like. And if someone's a boring texter and you go really flowery, they're going to be like, what's up? Doesn't matter whether it's a boy or a girl, but definitely if it's a girl, you know, what is this? Who is this joker? And you could have had the best interaction on the street, and then you text her in this overtly flamboyant, which might be really good for some girls, but it's just a very high risk move off the bat.
Dude, oh man, you put it perfectly, Tim. Like, don't shoot yourself don't give the opportunity to shoot yourself in the foot. Like just put the gun in the holster. Like, you don't need to walk it with safety off to prove a point. I'm going to prove that I was good at this all along. Right. And so they'll stick the things that clearly didn't work, but that they were married to. And so, you know, for you guys, that the more beginner's mindset, I love that phrase, just having that beginner's mindset every single day. Right. Of course, there's things that you're good at. 100%. Like you said, Tim, and I appreciate you shining those to me. Like, there were things that I was good at. I really liked that when we were on the set. You gave me confidence being like, Joel, you're not like terrible at this. You're doing this right, this right, this right. So I think that's very important. And here are some things that we need to improve. But if I was like, oh man, I can't be bad. I'm good. Tim already said I was good. I would have never gotten better. So really having that humility when you enter into a coaching thing, like you came here to get better and to improve, and you need to. Yeah,
you're a forever work in progress. Yeah, you never complete this, and I know this is for another podcast, but you know, continuing into like relationships and stuff. Even in your relationship, you don't just want to switch it on autopilot and lose consciousness. You want to be conscious in your relationship so that you're teasing her and all the rest of it. One thing I've realized with guys, a lot of guys are the best in this, and this used to puzzle me back in the day because I remember one of my early mentors in this area. And I was like, but you're not necessarily better than me in certain areas. But what he is good at is being good enough at each stage. Good enough at the texting, good enough at the dating, good enough at the approaching. And that would be a guy that's exceptional in any area, but lacking, deficient in... The way I look at it is you got approaching, texting, dating, right? Those three. If you're a bit above average in each one of those, which is achievable for any man that puts the work in, you will slay.
Yes. You will have abundance.
You'll have abundance, right? If you keep working on that skill earnestly and you have the right mindset, etc. Whereas if you can be amazing at approaching, right? It was definitely me at certain points in my career, really good at approaching, but then the dating, I just lacked the confidence to physically escalate with the girls that I thought were like attractive. I know a certain barrier of hotness. I went, no, I can't do it. No. I'll just treat her like she's a friend from far away, and I'll just, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And then why isn't anything happening? Why, I couldn't realize it. And, because a lot of the way I will escalate on dates is, as I'm sure yourself, right? You're just being yourself. You've done it enough times that you're organic and natural, but then you get put into a situation where you're like, oh, damn, this girl's really hot. I don't want to fuck it up. And that's when you've got to try some shit out, and it might be awkward, all right, okay, what was it? Okay, that guy told me to reach out and touch her hand. Okay, yeah, so you're really nice soft skin. And you have to try some of those moves, because otherwise you'll never cross that barrier. And not to rate girls objectively out of 10, but it's subjective rating. But let's say in your subjective rating, she's like 7 out of 10, and all of a sudden you're on a date with the girl that you think is a 9. Like you gotta try some shit, man. You can't just work on your instincts, and that's one of the.
Totally, bro. Yeah, I remember that, like, this like going for that first touch, like hand on the shoulder or something, like it's terrified because I'm like, oh, she's a nine, so nines must react differently than sevens. And then I'm like, and then she like smiled and like leaned into it, and I was like, like my mind instantly went, oh, like there's no difference.
But you have to take that walk into the unknown, right? Ultimately, it's you have to take that walk into where you don't know what's going to happen.
I remember the first nine I went on a date with, and it was the first time I was trying. Typically, like a really good thing for guys starting out with dating is sit next to her, right? Because it's really easy to like bump legs, have that physical touch be very near to you. So it's almost like Tim's, you have to almost sit like this, not to touch him. So we really recommend guys when they're starting off with dating, sit next to them. But I was starting to practice not doing that, sitting across and having it be only eye contact. And God, I just remember the moment, like she was one of the prettiest girls I think I've ever dated to date. And there's this moment where we had talked a little bit. We couldn't even speak the same language, but we just like stopped and paused and we just looked at each other for like 10 seconds and neither one of us broke. And in that moment, it was like, we both like knew it was like, that was like the test. Like we just locked eyes and it was like, it's on. It was like, it was on, right? Boom, though. Oh man, I remember that experience, man. And like, God, you're going to have these amazing moments that you'll just never forget when you start to face this stuff.
Yeah, that's another thing we're saying. The guys that are watching this, if you're like Joel was, or like I was, in a lot of pain. I just come out of my divorce. I was like, Jesus, am I ever going to sleep with a woman again? I hadn't slept with a woman. I hadn't had sex in my own marriage for over a year, I think. From that to some of the experiences like what Joel's just describing, that moment where it's on with a 9. If you come from the Midwest in America like you do, or Southwest of England, you literally never seen a girl that hot in your life, and that's what's out there for you. If you put the work in. And by the way, there's part of if you're watching this and there's a part of your brain that goes, oh, these guys, as I would have done, me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have liked hearing guys refer to women as 7s and 9s. And the thing is, it's important to remember is it's your subjective rating. It's not an objective rating. We're not rating women as human beings based on their looks only, but it's just how astounded we are by how physically attractive we perceive them is 9 out of 10. Actively working on this area of your life, it's still niche enough that not many men do it, which means it's still possible for you if you put in the work. And I say this because, look, Joel, you're a good looking guy, you're in good shape or whatever, but even that being said, right, I hate just to say it how it is, right? American born, but you've got your Asian descent, and there's a lot of guys out there, they've got that chip on that Asian chip on their shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. They've been eating that back of Asian kids, bro.
I was thinking the tech analogy. They're so nerdy. They install an Asian chip in their, like Asian chip.
Oh there. Yeah, exactly, man. But the way I've seen smoking hot white chicks respond to you in person, if your energy is right, man, and there's this whole looks maxing craze as well right now. Which, don't get me wrong, how you look is really important. Optimizing your style, getting yourself nice and lean, getting good fitting t-shirt, all that kind of jazz. All that stuff is really important. Having a good haircut or having a good no haircut if you don't have hair. But that being said, go on my story right now and you can see when I was a bit chubby and had long bad hair. Texting, approaching, dating, I had a modicum of proficiency in those 3 areas, and I was doing quite well at that time. What makes me different from everyone else you've worked with in the industry?
God, I would say, kind of reversing this, is that you are like people I've worked with that I've really liked to work with, right? So you're not trying to be unique. You're not trying to be different. You're very relatable. Like, I'm a guy that was just like you. I suck at the skill, but I put enough work in and enough time, and I've learned enough things that I can share that with you now. There's no like egoic hierarchical thing. I can feel a genuine passion to help people. And that's what I really look for in mentors of any type: financial, relational, health. Does this guy actually care about what he's teaching? Right. And I've worked with my first dating coach before you. He had me open a credit card to work with him. I was very in a vulnerable state. Right. And he suggested I open a credit card, which I was very against. And I made the decision to open a credit card. Yes, by the way. So I'm not blaming him. But when I look back, I don't know if he had my best intentions at hand. There was a mix of, I want to get this client, right? And also when I actually reviewed his footage, his infield, it was pretty bad. And I could sense that, not having even learned how to flirt yet. But I was like, I could just tell the way the women were responding to him, they were giving him pity numbers. But he was like, these are my great approaches. So it just felt authentic. So I think what makes you very good at this, and I guess you could say different from maybe him and some of the other guys that are just trying to make a buck, is that you're actually really good at it. I remember when I saw you do your approaches, like you demonstrated what you were teaching. You practiced what you preach. And I'm like, and a lot of coaching sometimes, guys, is just like, again, it's important. It's important not to pedestalize your coach, because at the same time, they're a person just like you. And you even said it earlier that there's things that they're not going to be as good at as you are. A lot of the clients I've worked with have way more money than me, right? Are way more successful in business and have even helped me in return in work, right? But it's important to remember that they're just a person too. So the fact that, yeah, you could actually do what you were telling me to do really well, like that, like I felt confidence through osmosis.
Right.
Like, damn, just watching this guy do his thing and being around his energy, like, I want to pick up a little bit something here. Let me get a little, something.
No, actually to say that, I remember, that kind of, I love to just be a bit silly sometimes to prove that you can be a bit silly. Like I remember like, Joel, look at this. I had that kind of energy, you know. And everyone will have their own interpretation of their own energy, but it's about bringing the best version. That's
You broke the rules. That was what was so refreshing. You broke the rules. You acted not how maybe a movie would portray you. A movie might portray you like never smiles, like always broody, like I'm the man, I'm the alpha, right? And you're like, I'm gonna be goofy and myself and laugh and joke. I'm like, good God, finally, like I don't have to be this like robot of dating cold approach. I can have fun with this. Enjoy this process. Good God.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've coached guys to success that maybe are more men of few words, right? So if you are a man of few words, or you're not so goofy like myself, this is part of what coaching is. We take your best natural attributes. I used to be a personal trainer, and I would take guys on pads a lot, right? And some guys would have a really good jab, so you build their whole game around their jab. Other guys would have like a really good hook, so you build the whole game around the hook. Other guys could be really good combination punchers, so you build the whole game around the combinations. Same thing with when you get a student. If a student's got that really dry sense of humor, I think you were giving me an example of this the other day. And I'm talking about this story that I think you told me. You found like specific things that he can say in conversation that will work for him, but they wouldn't work for you. But the principles are the same. It's one thing to be a nice guy and relatable and all the rest of it, but a good coach, you can see what the guy does well and you can develop his best qualities.
Yeah, and like going off that, Tim, like not every girl is going to be right for you, and that's something we really focus on too. A very goofy girl might not want to date a dry logical guy, but that dry logical guy might be perfect for a girl who's also a bit dry and a bit, sarcastic or whatever it might be. You just got to find the girls that are right for you, and not every girl will be, and that's really important to remember, guys.
One of the best analogies is that every girl you're going to approach is an envelope. Some will have a golden ticket. It's not your responsibility to find out which one. It's your responsibility to open the envelope to find out. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So for the guys that are like watching this as well, the journey, it was 3 years ago that we worked together. So 3 years later, I mean, how do you feel 3 years after we worked together? And how's your life changed, and for the better, or just tell the guys.
Dude, life's so good, man. Life, I mean, I still have my challenges, of course. I'm still like leveling up in a lot of other areas. But to know I can go to sleep at night knowing I have peace around my dating life, and this is not something I'm gonna have to worry about. for the rest of my life, because, you know, I'd had periods before I met my current girlfriend where I would date girls exclusively for long periods, and it would have worked. And then I would just go back out, and in an hour I'd have, you know, 4 more dates. I know that if, you know, whatever happens, I'm going to be able to get back out there and go on a date and find a new girl that's even better for me than the last one. So I feel a lot of peace there. Getting through my ethical player phase is really important, because now I don't have this wonder, like, man, what if did I cash in too early, right? Did I really unlock my full potential? The answer is no. If I could date 10 more years and get 10 times better, and, you know, whatever. But what I learned too is that every girl at the end of the day is a girl at the end of the day, right? You're going to get used to her. You know what I mean? She's going to get used to you. That spark, that magical spark that you get on date one is, you know, it's going to come and go, right? Don't get too attached to the highs. And I'm just grateful I get to coach other guys to find that same joy and freedom that I did. And that I have a beautiful girlfriend that I'm very happy with, and she's very supportive, and she follows my lead and all that stuff that we want as a man. It's me, I trust her. And man, it all started from some random dude in Poland. I don't know. I'm so thankful, man. I'm so thankful for Tim.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, thank you so much, dude. Well, but this is, I mean, wow, what you said there, it's such an important thing. Like, if you're watching this, guys, to just know that's what the true abundance is for me personally. It's to know that they're out there, and that you can meet them and date them. And that is like box tick. Yeah, because if you're in a place of scarcity watching this, guys, believe me, you're always going to have other parts of your life to worry about. But to go to your grave not having this part of your life handled, I can't imagine. It's such an important part of a man's life to get handled. Just to, whether you want a long-term relationship, an ethical player phase, whatever, just listen to the call to action. Don't go to your grave with your music still in you. I can't remember what film said that, but it's so important. Like what Joel's got now, and I'm not in a relationship right now, but at the same time, I'm focused on building my dating business. Even irony being, dating is not even something I'm super focused on right now myself. I know it's there. Whereas there was a part of my life when I was learning this skill set where I was like, no, need to be meeting women all the time, right? And it's like this frantic, and then the work gets done at a certain point. There's like a point where you're like, okay, whatever it is, I've had my enough. It's just a part of you that gets quenched. And it's like, okay, fine. Now I can come back to it. Yeah. And to have that, to have done that work, it's a bit like making your money as a man. If you've made your money, just imagine if you hadn't made your money. If you're still making your money, great. Until you've got this part of your life answered, what can I say? I'm going to ramble on that, but yeah. Okay, cool. Would you, one last thing, and then would you recommend working with Tim, and why?
Okay. I would absolutely recommend working with Tim. And here's why. For all the things I mentioned, right? He's personable. He'll help you in the areas that you need to be helped on, not what he thinks is his perfect, awesome Tim system. No, every guy's different. Every guy comes from a different background. Every guy has a different place they're starting at. He's also going to be a friend. He's going to treat you like an equal. And you won't have to worry about getting big dicked, to be frank, which a lot of coaches will do, right? So you're going to get, and dude, he knows what he's doing. To have somebody that can help you, they only need to be one level above where you are. Tim's like 15. So you're going to have a lot of room to get better. No matter where you are on that dating phase, he's got your back. So Tim,
thank you, man.
We got my table.
So for those of you watching the video, imagine you, like Joel, can approach the woman that you want. Imagine you have to literally hire a coach, hire a therapist, and pay him money to give you the advice to stop sleeping with girls on the first date. Because Joel went from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. If Joel can go from being 27 years old, a virgin, to a place of stupendous abundance with a beautiful girl, coaching other guys, if you're watching this video, you can do it as well, guys. But the thing is, you need to take action. So if you want to become that high-value man that essentially is able to attract the woman of his dreams, I'm opening up some coffee chats We get on a call together. I'm not going to try and sell you straight away. Let's find out if we're a good fit. Let's find out if we work well together. I'm including a link down below, and you can click that link to book a coffee chat, to book a 15-minute chat with me. We'll find out about you. We'll find out where you want to get to, what your current sticking points are, the type of woman that you want to find. If that sounds like you, where you're at right now, I'll see you on the other side. Boom.